Hello. We should stop whinging about the recession. Who says so? Lord Alan Sugar.
The business guru is now a government advisor. He was in the region today giving advice to businesses about surviving the slump. According to recent figures, the UK economy hasn't grown since April 2008. But in an interview with Look East, Lord Sugar wasn't impressed when he was asked about the recession.
He's Britain's best-known businessman, and today he was at a conference near Cambridge for a question and answer session. Captains of industry wanted some top tips from Lord Sugar about how to navigate their way through the longest and deepest recession since records began. But when Look East was given a few moments to interview the government advisor on business, he didn't like us using the R word. How does this region get out of recession?
Can we get off this recession kick once and for all? I don't think we're in one now, OK? So...
Just the title of this conference is How to Survive and Thrive. Obviously there is a recession at the moment, which people are having to deal with.
Well, you know, I think it's about time that we stop talking about this recession. I think it's about time that the media really assisted a little bit in stop talking about recession. I mean, small businesses know how to trade, they know how to get on and do things, yeah, okay, and it's the businessman or the businesswoman, you know, who has to run their business and adapt to the climate that they're in at the moment.
More than 800 business leaders were at a development agency conference at Duxford on how to survive the recession. What did delegates make of Lord Sugar's no-nonsense message?
I totally agree with Sir Alan. I think it's down to the business leaders to stop whinging and to look for the opportunities. My own company this year has doubled its turnover and its profits.
No recession for us whatsoever. In actual fact, we had our most profitable year last year, and we're very lucky insofar as our business has actually turned around.
Government figures show Britain is still in recession, but the star of The Apprentice doesn't see it that way and wants us all to be more positive. Richard Bond, BBC Look East, Duxford.
Well, that conference was organised by the East of England Development Agency. Their chairman is Richard Ellis. Let's speak to him. Who do we believe? Should we believe the government economic figures or the government economic champion?
Well, I think what you're seeing is the technical recession is still with us, but I think what Sir Alan was reflecting was what you've seen from businesses talking here today, is that there's actually a massive amount of confidence and the businesses are still growing and they're surviving and indeed they're thriving in this region.
Let me just tie you down on that. Who's right, Sir Alan Sugar or the government?
Well, I think Sir Alan's right in looking forward in terms of the confidence he's seen here today, the positive noises he's getting from business. But in fact, technically, we are still in recession, but when we start coming out of recession, you'll still see unemployment rising. That's just a fact. So I think we need to look forward as well as look back, and that's really, I think, what Lord Sugar was saying.
But whatever he says, Lord Sugar, we shouldn't be burying our heads in the sand, should we? There is a recession, we have to face it head on.
Absolutely, and that's very much what this event has been about today. EDA's Destination Growth 2009, an international quality event bringing 30 top speakers to inspire our business leaders, to give them ideas, tips, networking, support, and they've just been absolutely bowled over by it. So they've gone away actually even more confident than when they were starting with us this morning. So it's actually been a really inspirational, fantastic day. And I think what Lord Sugar was capturing there was the feeling that he was getting in this room about businesses in the east of England who are increasingly confident that we are heading out of recession.
But very quickly, your room was full of people who were doing OK. There are lots of people who are struggling.
There's no doubt about that. Recovery will take time, but actually I think what Lord Sugar was saying was very much let's start thinking about recovery and let's actually start talking things up occasionally rather than just constantly talking about, you know, the recession, which obviously is a technical fact. But there are businesses here who are succeeding, who are doing well. Yes, there are people struggling. Mr. Ellis, got to help those as well.
Sorry to interrupt you. We have to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A car dealer from Essex has been jailed for 18 years for ordering firebomb attacks on the homes of 2 detectives. Wayne Taylor paid for petrol bombs to be thrown in revenge for a drugs raid on his home one Christmas. This report from our Home Affairs correspondent Sally Chidzoy.
He's a man who liked to terrorise his enemies. A top-flight Essex criminal, Wayne Taylor, hired henchmen to do his dirty work. He came unstuck when he ordered the petrol bombing of the homes of 2 local police officers in Clacton. DNA on a beanie hat and mobile phone traces helped trap him. The car dealer was furious when his home was raided during a drugs operation. He was set on revenge after officers opened his children's Christmas presents and took away his credit cards. Jurors at the Old Bailey trial were told that it was only through good fortune that the officers and their families were not seriously injured or killed.
It is, however, the bravery of the victims and witnesses in this case that really stands out. The 2 fathers were simply doing their duty as police officers, and in revenge, Wayne Taylor firebombed their homes. The victims first overcame the terror of having to escape their burning home at 5 in the morning with young children, including a 2-day-old baby. But then they showed real courage in standing up in court to testify against the kind of man who's prepared to carry out this heinous revenge attack.
Taylor had been found guilty of arson with intent to endanger life, but he was cleared of attempted murder. Sentencing Wayne Taylor to 18 years in prison, Judge Martin Stevens told him he'd been involved in a cold-blooded and premeditated crime aimed at putting wholly innocent lives in danger. He told Taylor's offences had struck at the heart of society. He'd put at risk the lives of servants of the public, 2 police officers and their families. Taylor's 2 accomplices were jailed following a separate trial. A former Essex detective constable, Robert Sloane, has been charged with perverting the course of justice in connection with the case. Sally Chidzoy, BBC Look East at the Old Bailey.
2 people have been taken to hospital after a crash involving a crane and a car in Northamptonshire. The crane also hit a house in the village of Rockingham. The person who lives there says it's a miracle nobody in the house was hurt.
It's been described as Rockingham's tiny little miracle. At 7 o'clock this morning, this crane somehow left the road, hitting a 300-year-old house before falling on top of an oncoming car. And yet no one is seriously hurt. The house the crane struck is incredibly in one piece, apart from the loss of its wooden porch. The Davis family were just getting up inside when it all happened.
It does seem to be a miracle in Little Rockingham that no one died this morning, and we do hope that it continues to be as safe. It could have been very easily the other way, not to be sensationalist, but the crane itself could have easily taken out part of us, as both of us were standing by the external wall, either sleeping or having a shower.
It's not the first time a house here has been hit by oncoming traffic. The homes are owned by the Rockingham estate. For years it's been calling for a weight restriction on the route through the village.
It's been an ongoing campaign that the estate, along with the village, have been fighting for a number of years to try and get a weight limit on the hill, and through the village, because it's just not appropriate. A village of this type should have heavy transport going through it. It's not necessary, and this is exactly the sort of thing that can happen on a very steep hill. The weather's wet, the road is slippery, and this is the sort of thing that can be a consequence.
The clean-up has taken most of the day. Now the investigations begin. The village of Rockingham, however, is just hoping things get back to normal. James Burridge, BBC Look East in Rockingham.
Still to come on Look East, we find out if a school which was severely criticised for a culture of bullying